Okay, guys, this is going to be about essay writing. So we are focusing right now, and we will for the next, like, I want to say 5-6 weeks. We'll be on the LeQ, which is the long essay question. Okay, and here's the big deal. The first thing you always need to know is the rubric. Okay, so the rubric tells you how you're going to score or get your thing. So first point is the thesis. And hopefully by the end of the day, we have a thesis for your essay that will be due on Wednesday. Tomorrow, again, you'll have notes due, and you'll do a poster. And then this is going to be like right on this going on there. Then you have a context. The context is what leads into the essay, and then it's talking about something else that isn't a part of the essay but connects to the essay, and that becomes harder for people. And I'll say, if you looked on, say, last year's class in the actual AP exam, 100% got this point. If they didn't get this point, they just totally botched the essay, or they answered the wrong prompt, which has happened. The biggest issue you can have is not answer the right question. And I'll go 70 to 80%. I think it was 80% last year, which is good, got this point. Then you have 2 evidence points. And those are going to be just facts that, put it this way, that prove your thesis. Now I'll note, it's probably easier to get these than this if you know your stuff. Here's how I'm going to put it. You need to have black words or vocab words involved. And so that's going to be a big deal when you hit this, and you're going to engage it going on there. Then the 5th point is the one that will decide whether your essay is good or if it's bad or not. I'll just say it this way. I'm almost meaning that as we're going on there. As you guys get going, the first time you write an essay, it's always tough because you're like, what are all these things? This one right here decides it on the test whether it was successful or not. Because if you end up with a 3, right, because you didn't get these 2 points, that's the difference between almost passing and not passing. Okay, and does that make sense? Where if you get a 5 on this, that's an A. Now, I'm just going to call it the last one the 6th point. Don't even shoot for it right now, okay? I gave it 0 times last year when I was doing essays, and all the 20 essays that they wrote throughout the year with 13 students, I literally did not give it once. The year before I gave it 3 times. The year before that I gave it 3 times. Got it? It's basically 1 out of 1,000 essays on an AP exam, and it will also exist in, it will also exist, it'll exist there. I know of 1 student in my entire career that has actually got the 6th point on an LeQ on an actual AP exam. I'm not even sure which student it is. I think it's Molly Hofer, but I'm not 100% sure. Does that make sense? So at a certain level, it's a bigger deal in terms of like how many people get this to get the 6th point on an AP exam than is to get a 5 on the exam. Does that make sense? To get the highest overall score. Now, that person got a 4 on the exam. That means that they didn't do as well somewhere else, but that's still really good. Getting a 4 is you're in the top 25% of all the exam takers. Got it? And anyhow, last year I had 1 5, a bunch of 4s, and a few 3s. No non-passers, so that was good. Anyhow, that's kind of breaks down the rubric. And so we'll talk about each of these as we keep going forward here. Okay? So now I'm going to draw it out on what to do. Okay, so first thing you need is a prompt. I'm going to keep it very simple right now. I know it says something else online. Don't get overly distracted on this. But I'm going to compare and contrast. Let's go Hinduism spread to spread of Islam. Now, if you're thinking about this in any way, shape, or form, guys, right away, what do you want to say about Hinduism spread? Which one spread more? Islam and not Hinduism. Everyone got it there? And so I could have done Buddhism and maybe they've been more similar than different. Now I should be compare and contrast here. So the first question you want to ask is, are they more similar or are they more different? And you need to make a judgment call, okay? So now the way to do that is to basically go spice it out. And I'm going to do this quickly. And I would recommend doing this in shorthand form on your actual essays that you write. And I'll say it for this one, you might want to like even compare it, sort of idea. Now I need to get rid of these Oprah Winfrey quotes because I have random things on my wall that don't make any sense to you guys right now. And why are we talking about the color purple? Okay, so just Hinduism, guys. What is the social structure?
Triangle.
They're all triangles.
Oh. Place warrior work in common or anything that is untouchable.
Okay, there you go. Caste system. Everyone should be able to be able to describe the caste system. And you have the untouchables on bottom, and you have the priests on top. Okay, I'm shorthanding this in sort of idea. How about in Islam? What do you know about social structure? Women drop, right? Because remember, they're city dwellers. I think you could even mention that here. And then the women are forced to stay in the home and cover up in ways that a lot of us think are kind of inhumane at this point. You'll see that if you ever go to a Muslim country, there are those that are following the very strict form of Islam, that the women go out, they're wearing all black coverings, and all you can see is their eyes. Got it? Because they're supposed to be totally hidden in the back there. I'll note here that this is just one of the things I'll note. They tend to think highly of merchants. Other societies like the Chinese will not, but these guys don't think lowly of merchants. They like merchants as well, and are in the mid-class, the middle of the caste system. So are these things more similar or different? Okay, can you see how you'd argue either way? Raise your hand if you would say these things are more similar. Say if they're different. Okay, I'm just for the moment going to say different, okay? Because Islam doesn't have a caste system quite in the same way. Now, next time, guys, in Christianity, you'll do feudalism, and feudalism will show you that the quote-unquote Islamic and Christian caste system doesn't look all that different. Does that make sense? Because they're more similar than they are different. Okay, politically, what do you have in Hinduism? What's ruling the Hindus? Okay, priests and kings. Name an empire. Okay, Mauryan and Gupta. Okay, can you tell me, just when I say that, we don't need to write it down, can you tell me something about those empires just in your heads? Hopefully you can, because that'll give you guys kind of the details. I think Ashoka here. What are the empires here?
Caliphate.
Okay, caliphs or caliphates. Okay, what are the two famous ones?
Umayyad and Abbas.
Oh my goodness. What?
Abbasid and Umayyad.
Oh.
I think you guys were saying it right, saying the right thing. Now, I'm going to note here, how developed were these guys at war? How developed were these guys at war?
Yeah.
Okay, because right here are the Mamelukes and the, what do you call it, the tax system and all that sort of stuff. I'm just going to know, and then remember that these are large and these are in India. So, similar or different?
Different.
Different. Okay, interactions with the environment. Where we're talking about Hindus, one word.
Agriculture.
India.
I would give the double ag season, okay, but I'm actually looking for monsoons. Interaction with the environment. What's the environment?
Desert.
Desert. So that's going to lead to camels and Silk Road versus more so IoT, which I might as well just go IoT, Silk Road. Okay? Guys, the most important essay that you will write, the most likely essay to be on there out of any essay is IoT versus Silk Road. I couldn't tell you which era, but that will, in the era from 1000 to 1450, the era from 1450 to 1750, those two that's a dominant theme, either one. Got it? So talking about them economically is there. Now, is this similar or different? Okay, culturally. What are Hinduism's major beliefs? Just think religion at this point. Reincarnation.
A million gods.
Okay, polytheistic. I always like karma, which to me is easy to remember, and moksha is their like becoming one with the universe sort of thing. Moksha. Okay, over here you have how do they believe about God? What sort of thing?
One God. There's one God in the monotheistic.
Monotheistic, and then you have your 5 pillars. I don't even think I need to go beyond that. You just need to look them up. Okay? Similar or different? Different. IoT versus Silk Road. Similar or different?
Different. I mean, they are both trailers.
Yes.
I'm going to just argue here for the moment. Follow me here when I get back to it. Similar. Technology. What do these guys have technology? These guys were more involved in technology.
Military camel saddles.
And they also had like.
Yeah, military. And what else did we say?
Stars.
Medicine. Stars.
And roads.
Sorry, all of a sudden I was trying to remember myself. Avicenna was the philosopher that did all the medical stuff that becomes like even the father of medicine here. Technology here. Dows. Good. Which is tied here. Now, got it? Does it make sense? Where you guys mentioned the camel saddles or whatever. And that is also tied here, right? So I think the one problem with this, I'm used to doing this with Buddhists, so maybe they're more similar. Okay, here is now, you've got like your facts. Okay, now you need to decide what are the 3 paragraphs I want to write on? Just what has the most information? Now, this could look different for different people. And so like usually when we're doing the first one, everyone kind of chooses it. Now, like this one right here, you can always write on, but there's a lot here and not so much here. Does that make sense? And so because of that, I would put this towards the back burner. This to me is obvious. I'm going, there's a difference between the Maurya and Gupta Empire, or I could argue there's a similarity because they're both empires, right? But there's a difference between the Abbasids and the Umayyads. And then here, is there a lot here? We're kind of eh. How about here? Is there a lot?
Yes.
Okay, easy to write this one. Is there a lot here? The economic. Culture, I'd say yes. It's not even obvious.
Yes.
I would go yes. This to me is, this is where, like, remember I was telling you guys, learn the products and the locations everywhere, because they're always worth a paragraph in any essay in that particular era, or a short answer question. It's always going to be on there. And I'll note this one right now, I would just wrap up into here. Does that make sense? Like I wouldn't overly separate them, because at this point in the game, kind of the environments are affecting this. Okay? So, got it here? Now we have 3 paragraphs we're going to write. Now we're ready to do a thesis. Okay. Thesis. Okay. Thesis is era plus both cultures plus claim, which is going to be, are they more similar or different, guys? Are they more similar or different?
Different.
Different. More different. And then plus, this is the hard part, 3 ties to the 3 paragraphs. Okay? Now, 3 body paragraphs, I should say. Okay, so at this point, I just need to like kind of, before I jump into the thesis, describe it. Paragraph 1 equals the thesis. It needs nothing else. Okay, now hear me out on this. When I teach you how to write a thesis, this is not for English class. This is trying to make a clear claim. It is going to look like a run-on sentence. Got it there? Because you're going to have to stuff 3 sets of ideas, 1, 2, 3, into one thesis, and a claim and a culture. Mrs. Chang or Mrs. Ayers would not like this if you do this in your English class, so don't do it in your English class. Okay, that's supposed to be paragraph 1. Okay, paragraph 2, context. Paragraph 3 through 5 are 3 body paragraphs with 3 different paragraphs with 3 different with 3 different spicy categories. And in this case, we chose political, cultural, and economic. Got it? And then it ends with a concluding paragraph, which is restate the thesis with force. Because one of the problems that you guys will have, and it's an understandable problem, is you guys are doing history, you're just writing down facts, right? Like history doesn't have a thesis. It's not like, here, let me teach you the thesis of, George Washington. And it's like, no, George Washington crossed the Delaware on Christmas Day. You know what I mean? It's like you're dealing with all facts. Well, you're trying to get it so it makes an argument. And that's why even when I'm having you guys do the notes, I have you guys identify the thesis to realize that, okay, like the Indian one, the Hindu chapter was that diverse landscapes, diverse interactions with the environment led to many different gods, led to many, many different identities and personalities. Got it? Or sort of idea. Does everyone remember that thesis? Okay. And so that right there, guys, is probably like the type of thing that you're doing. You're making a historical claim. What led to this? Now, the reason I start with compare and contrast is because the claim becomes easy to say. Basically, if I just even verbally do a thesis right now, right? You want to mention the era from 600 BCE to 600 CE. We're using the common era stuff as opposed to the Christian-based thing, even though they're exactly the same. It's dumb. But on your AP exams, it'll be the common era as opposed to AD and BC. Did that make sense to everyone? Okay. Yes.
So like AD and BC, or after Christ.
AD is like Adonai. It's Latin. It's Domine, after the year of our Lord, after Jesus was born, and that's supposed to be 0 AD. And then they turned it into the common era, so that it didn't have the religious tones in the secular world.
Is the year range still?
It's exactly the same. Yes, Isaac.
If the common era isn't determined by religion, what determined the turn to the common era?
You'd have to ask the secular historians that changed it, and I don't know who changed it or why. I think it's just to not offend, whoever.
We all learn.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just it's common. It's almost like, why do we use, what do you call it, pounds instead of, grams and kilograms, right? It's because that's the tradition at a certain level. For most secular people, I think that's true too. But if you're trying to be, on the AP exam, we'll use common era and before common era. Anyhow. Okay. So doing it real quick, 600 BCE to 600 CE, the Hindus and the Muslim cultures that grew in that time period were more different than similar. And then I go because, and then I start writing my thesis. Got it? So now guys, open up and let's start writing your thesis. Got it here? Okay. Just make you do it on your own instead of having me copy on the board and I just stop writing here. No, I'll probably have tips. What's that? So open up to a page that you'll actually write your essay on Wednesday. So Wednesday we have an hour-long class period, and most of it I'm hoping you'll have the thesis and the context, and then you'll have examples of it that's going on there, okay? But for right now, focus on the thesis. Now, I have no problem saying this. I mean, we're gonna record it, put it on YouTube, right? Be like, the thesis is going to seem like a run-on sentence, okay? So I have remember this is my box right here talking about the thesis, okay? You need a claim. I said they're more different than similar. And then you want to say because, right? Now, summarize how they're different right here. Okay? Try it. Talk to your neighbors, see if you guys can summarize how they're different.
Because, oh, wait,